As some dual nationals, foreign nationals, and folks who are critically ill begin to get out of Gaza for the first time since the blockade and bombardment started, we're getting a look at the scope of the destruction there. This is a satellite picture showing part of the Jabalia refugee camp just north of Gaza City on Tuesday. It's a neighborhood, it's structures. It's one of the most densely populated places on Earth. This picture was taken on October 31st. This is what that same neighborhood looked like on November 1st. That's one day later. That's after an Israeli airstrike. The Israeli military confirms the strike, says it was targeting a Hamas militant. The local hospital says dozens of people were killed. Over 100,000 Palestinians live in Jabalia. This is what it looked like last year as people got ready to celebrate the holiday of Eid, shopping for food, treats, and other goods, while children played in the marketplace. These are the pictures on the ground after the airstrike on Tuesday. Apartment buildings leveled, hundreds of people reportedly injured, and a massive crater left behind where the bombs hit. Now, it's hard to find a proper precedent or analog for what we're seeing in Gaza, this kind of destruction of a military campaign in such a dense urban area where people cannot flee. The closest there is may be the battle for Mosul, Iraq, after it was taken over by ISIS. So here's a satellite image from Mosul. It's Iraq's second biggest city. This is in 2015. And this is that exact same location 2 years later. Look at that, after ISIS had been routed. Before ISIS, Mosul was a city of well over 1 million people. They had homes, and they worked, and they ran errands, and they shopped, and they raised children like you or I. After the ISIS takeover, Iraqi and coalition forces launched a 9-month military campaign to take back the city, and ISIS really wouldn't let people leave. And so they were sort of trapped there. And much of Mosul, as you can see, was largely reduced to rubble. The Associated Press says close to 10,000 civilians were killed during that military campaign. Right now, Israel's military campaign in Gaza appears to be on pace to far exceed that. The Gaza Health Ministry says 9,000 people have been killed in just over 3 weeks. We cannot independently verify that number, but those satellite images paint a picture of enormous devastation. Sarah Yeager is the Washington director of Human Rights Watch. She recently wrote about what Israel can learn from America's counterterrorism missteps, and she joins me now. Sarah, if I understand correctly, you're sort of intimately involved with the Mosul campaign. And the reason I think of Mosul is because of usually civilians flee war zones when there's a big battle. This happened in Fallujah. This happens in other places, and it's horrible and brutal, and we watch people go, and there's refugee camps. But it's better than being in the way of the bombs. Mosul was an example where they couldn't really do that. What did that mean for the war's toll on civilians and the calculations of the U.S. and the coalition about what an acceptable level of risk to civilians was?
Sure. Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me. So I was in Mosul 2 weeks before the U.S. invasion, and I was looking specifically at this issue. How were the U.S. and Iraqi forces going to deal with an urban environment in which it was densely populated and it wanted to take out ISIS? And that was an extremely complicated equation. Unfortunately, I think that the U.S. and Iraqi forces didn't do a very good job of planning. And when you look at those pictures of Mosul today, it's taken many billions of dollars to rebuild it just to where it is. And what we're seeing in Gaza is orders of magnitude greater than the harm than what we saw in Mosul.
Say more about that, because I'm trying to sort of get some benchmark here for what we're seeing. We have amazingly brave journalists inside risking their lives, working with our NBC crews, but it's hard to get eyewitness in there. What do you mean by orders of magnitude more?
So in 9 months of U.S. operations in Mosul, there were about 9,000 people killed. We have seen 9,000 people killed in just 3 weeks of this operation in Gaza. Entire city blocks destroyed. And, you know, a lot of people, you said that in conflict, people try to flee. They cannot flee Gaza. There is nowhere to go. And, you know, a lot of people actually don't want to. This is their home. They are disabled. They're elderly. They have children. They're making these horrible choices about whether to break up their families to see if some can get to the south.
There's a legal part of this, which is, let's say, a U.S. the U.S. intelligence, right, in say Mosul, has acquired intelligence that there's an ISIS commander, a high-value ISIS commander, and 6, 7 fighters in a building. And it's an apartment building, and there's 100 civilians in there. There's someone and some process, right, whereby a decision is made, and it's a very grim calculation, but somewhere and some lawyers are involved with saying, like, is that an acceptable military target, right?
So for the United States, yes, there's a lot of lawyers involved. I believe it's the same thing for Israeli Defense Forces. I was at the Pentagon serving as a senior advisor to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and he actually commissioned a study on this very question in Mosul. And, you know, proportionality is what it's called under international law. Basically, here's your military target. Here are your civilians. They're supposed to be proportionate to each other. Civilians deserve protection and cannot be, again, orders of magnitude harmed compared to the military target. And I think in this kind of environment, what I keep hearing are sort of excuses for a different proportionality calculus. You know, this is a tough environment. It is an urban environment. Hamas is in and among civilians. That actually is not an excuse for a different calculus. It actually means that the military needs to work harder. None of their protection obligations go away.